Good Shabbos, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this evening for our pre-Shabbos Kabbalah Shabbos service. Obviously, it's not Shabbos yet, which is why we are able to do this online recording. And we are only going to be able to do part of the davening, which is till after the Chododi. After that, we'll say a few words, and then we are going to disconnect the live feed. And then we ask everybody to please finish Ma'ariv on your own, and then for the ladies, for the girls, to light Shabbos candles, and then to all have Kiddush and Shabbos together. We will begin with Yedid Nefesh. We ask you, wherever you are, at home, watching, please join. Let's sing all together, even though physically we cannot be together, but spiritually and as a community, all of our tefillos will go up to Hashem as we spend a few moments davening before we bring in Shabbos. Yedid nefesh l'barachamon meshoich avdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo yayol yishtachaveh el mul adorecha Yedid noisecha minoi fesu bechol tova hadur noe zivoy elam nafshi choyelas avosecha ana elina Allah behara Islam noyam zibecha ostis chazek v'si Yisrael v'hol Yisrael simcha so'elam v'sikemu rachamecha v'chusana ni'al beinahu v'cha ki ze kama nichsafti liros b'siferet uzecha eyelecha midai libi v'chusana v'yal tisardam yigolena ubnois l'amivi yadai sukas sheloi melecha yetoinet mikvaydecha
Mechonenu Kirei Olam. Na 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 na. Did I die Did I die Did I die Did I I lie da di da 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 di da 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 di da di da 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 di da da di da 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 di da da Lechon raneno ladoenoi nadio letsur yishenu nekadmo fanov besoyedo bizmiro yesnori Revoim shanakut b'doi Revoim aram tu'elevoim V'heim lo yadu drachoi Asher nishbati ve'api Im yevoyun emenuchasi Shchodosh Yismechu hashamayim v'sogeu el ha'aretz Yiram hayom v'loyoy Yaloi sodai v'chol asher evoy Oz yiranenu kol hatzeyuar Lifnei Adonai kivo Lishpoit uretz Yishpoit evel betzedek Ve'yamim be'emunasoi Adonai Malach Ki ato Adonai Elyoin Al kol haaretz me'oiden al yesu al kol lo yehi Oyav Adonai yasinu Shemer nafsho es chasidov miyad reshoim yatzileim Oirazaru al tzadik U'liyishrei leim simecho Simecho tzadikim b'Adonai Le'o yedu Lezecher kodesho Mizmoir shel Adonai shel avodo B'chatzotros v'kol shofar hori lifnei hamelech Adonai Yiram hayom u'loyoy tevel v'yoyishoyevu Neharoy simcha u'chof Yachad horim yirameinu Lifnei Adonai kivo lishpoit u'oretz Yishpoit evel betzedek Ve'yamim be'meishorim Adonai Malach Moish ve'aharin ve'choyano U'shemuel ve'koyre shemoy Koyri ve'ladoyano Ve'hu Yahweh Be'amudan yedaber alehem Shomru Yesod Ve'chavay nosan Eloy Adonai Eloheinu Nayatov Anisom Eloi Eseyo Yisolahem Ve'Eloi Kemalachim Lo Yesom Adonai Eloheinu I miss moiled David Amol Adonai b'nei Elin Havul Adonai Nekoy Ay Avul Adonai Kerek Shemoy Avul Adonai Midas Kodesh Koil Adonai Alamoyim Milakoyim Adonai Almay Rabim My Koil Adonai Vakoyim Koil Adonai Behodor My Koil Adonai Shoyvei Ranozim My Koil Adonai Yesardei Albanai Ay Mamay Arkede Kemoy Egel Amnai Besiriyay Kemoy Benreyemim Koil Adonai Chaytzay Zavei Albever Koil Adonai Yomid Vayachil Adonai Midbar Kodei My Koil Adonai Yechoy Leilai Oloi Yesoy V'yovonoi V'choloi Kuloi Yemer Kamoi Ay Adonai L'mabul Yerushalayim Shem Adonai Melech L'Olam Adonai Yahweh L'Yahweh Yiten Adonai Adonai Yahweh Bashamay Es hamoy vashoy Lechodoydi Ali Kraskalo Ay Benei Shabbos Mekabel below. Ay lecha doidi, ay likras kalo, ay bnei Shabbos nekabelo. Ay shomer v'zachor, dibur echad yishmiyanu, Elam yechad Adonai yechad, Ushma yechad Hashem Siferet, V'lesilo lechad doidi, Ay likras kalo, Ay penei Shabbos nekabelo. Hey, yikras Shabbos lecho v'nelcha, Ki mekoir berocha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, So like maser shochat tefila, I lelech kodoidi, Ay likras kala, Ay penei Shabbos nekabelo. Ay yigdash melech yer melocha, Kovitzei toicha v'cha, Rav shevel yenek melocha, Ve'oyach melayechem lecha doidi, Ay yigdas kalo, Ay penei Shabbos nekabelo. Hey, Yisnari, Me'afor Kumi, Liv Shibik, Zifar Techami, Aliyah Ben Yishayim, Beis Salami, Korevo, Nafshi Geyalo, Lewecha Doidi, Yayeli Kraskalo, Ay Penei Shabbos nekabelo. Yisayri, Kiva oirech, Kumi oiri, Ori, Shiyer daveri, Yoida doida, Yolayikla, I lewecha doidi, Ay kraskala, Ay penei Shabbos nekabelo. Lo voice voice even lo isikoni matish toyati matemi bo yakesu ani yomi when ibn so it altiro I left doidi likras kalo I penei Shabbos nekabelo ay vayulim jisam show I saw you Kinses kason al kalo lecho doidi likras kalo penei Shabbos nekabelo ay minus mavayim yeged loitzi besadoinoi tawaritzi al yadi bewen parti bewen ismecha benogielo lecho doidi likras kalo penei Shabbos nekabelo ay shalom ayla kam medina uvet salam loich emune vam segula hello ay lecha doidi likras kalo penei Shabbos nekabelo
I would say a guten Erev Shabbos, because there's still a few moments till it's time to light the Shabbos candles, until Shabbos actually comes in. But I'd like to share with you all a few words. So actually earlier this week, I'll share with you first of all something personal. And I was thinking to myself, as many have been thinking, what is the message as to what is going on in the world today? Who could have actually ever imagined that we would be in the situation that we are in, even just a few weeks ago? And as a chassid, I thought to myself, and what would the Rebbe say? And I thought to myself, well, let me open up one of the Rebbe's books, and I'll see, maybe I can gain some inspiration as to what message I can take to myself and what message I can share for others during this time. And I'd like to share with you what I opened up to. So I opened up one of the Rebbe's books of where he writes letters. The Rebbe used to write many letters to many hundreds of thousands of people over the years, and many of them are printed. And this particular letter, Rebbe writes to somebody, doesn't say who it was, someone that was going through a challenge in Parnassa. He was going through a tough time in earning a livelihood for his family, and he was quite concerned and quite worried. And he asked the Rebbe for advice how he is supposed to deal with this. And the Rebbe wrote to this person like this, that in our religion, in Yiddishkeit, in Torah, so much is spoken about the idea of emunah, of bitochen, of having faith, of having trust in Hashem. And we write about it, and it's been written about for hundreds, for thousands of years. We all have to have faith in Hashem. Then the Rebbe wrote to this person and said, so you've studied this, and you've studied this, and now is the time to put it into practice. And when we go through a challenge, Hashem tests us sometimes to see where we are holding. And sometimes it's only through tests that our true soul can come out. And therefore, the time is now, Rebbe writes to this person, for you to hold on to your faith, to have trust in Hashem, and to realize that it is only a test. And in the fullness of time, you will look back at this period and you will see that it was only a test. But you will also see that God was carrying you through this period in your life. And he was holding your hand and he was with you the whole time. And so therefore, my message to you, the Rebbe says to this person, is to have faith, and the parnassa will come. And then the Rebbe writes to this person, the closing few words of this letter was, so we can study about faith and we can have faith, but how do we express that faith? He said you should speak to your wife. This person was married, and before Shabbos, put in tzedakah, in the tzedakah box. Give a little bit of extra tzedakah, which is counterintuitive, right? Because if I'm worried about parnassa, why would I be giving tzedakah? I need to worry about myself. But if I have faith and I know that God is with me and I know that he's carrying me and I know that all he wants is to see that I believe and trust in him, so then I can give tzedakah because I know that it's going to be okay. And the Rebbe concluded this letter to say that actually it is the faith itself that will bring all the good results. And I thought to myself, how amazing, because one of the main concerns, of course, we're all worried about our health, but so many are worried about their parnassa moving forward and what's going to be in our world and how is this all going to play out. And we need to have faith. We need to have faith. It was in the merit of the faith that the Jewish people had, that they left Mitzrayim, that they left Egypt at the time of the Geula, at the time of when we left Mitzrayim. And so it's going to be in the merit of our faith now that we will merit to see redemption. And so therefore, let us all strengthen ourselves in faith. Let us all strengthen ourselves in tzedakah. Let us all strengthen ourselves to know that for whatever reason, there is a test that each and every one of us are facing today. But we will overcome this test. And we understand that God is carrying us. And therefore, I would like to ask each and every one of you, as we go to the Shabbos table, let us talk uplifting talk. Let us speak words of faith, words of trust, that we know that God is running our world. And I want to conclude with this, with a final idea. If we would be all in the shul, so tomorrow we would read at the beginning of Sefer Vayikra, which is the third book of the Torah, and it's Parshas Vayikra. And mainly the Parsha talks about korbanos, which are the sacrifices that they used to bring in the Mishkan, in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, of course, we don't have korbanos today. We don't have sacrifices today. It's hard for us even to wrap our head around the whole idea of sacrifices. But nevertheless, if we would be reading in the Torah tomorrow, we would read about sacrifices, korbanos. And I would like to share and conclude with an interesting idea about how we could all relate to korbanos and sacrifices, and what relevance this Torah portion has to all of us today in 2020. And it goes like this. Now, one of the sacrifices, the korbanos that was brought, was called an oila. A korban oila. What's an oila? The whole sacrifice was burned on the mizbeach, on the altar, because there were different sacrifices. I'm not going to go into all of that now. Some parts of it were burned. The whole thing was burned on the altar. And it says like this, that with this korban oila, if someone, let's say a person that was a man of means, they could bring a sheep or a bull, which was expensive. But if, let's say someone was poor and they didn't have much, they could bring a bird. A bird was much cheaper. And the Torah says that if this poor person brings a bird, the whole thing was brought on the temple, on the mizbeach, on the altar, and it was a sweet-smelling aroma to God. And the question is that if anyone has ever experienced burning feathers, it's a very bad smell. It's a disgusting smell. So how can the Torah say that if a poor person brings a bird and the whole thing is brought up on the mizbeach, that it was a sweet-smelling smell to Hashem? The feathers burning is not nice at all. And the answer is, and here is where we have the relevance to all of us, is that if the poor person brought the korban, but he meant it and it was with his sincerity, then God says there's no greater smell, there's no greater nachas, there's no greater joy that I have than this person bringing their bird. And to me, it's a beautiful smell. And now when we think about the generations, thousands of years of Jewish history, we had wealthy spiritual people, amazing scholars, men and women and of great depth. And we look at our generation and we can think to ourselves, we're like poor compared to them. It's difficult, and we don't live up to their standard of scholarship, of piety, of spirituality. We are poor. And God says that if a poor person, and here I'm talking spiritually, metaphorically, if we bring our bird, then God says, if we do it with sincerity, then it's a sweet-smelling aroma for me. I have great nachas. And I want to say to each and every one of us, we can all bring a little sacrifice to Hashem. We can all bring, even if we think that it doesn't smell nice, it's feathers burning. Who are we? We have maybe sullied our soul with some sin. Then maybe I don't feel qualified. And God says, no, if you bring up a sacrifice, it's going to mean so much to me. And I want to request to each and every one of us, even if we think, and perhaps in some ways we are, the poor generation from a spiritual perspective, but what each and every one of us can do and bring, whether it's my decision that this week I'm going to find time to go online for some shiurim, and there are going to be shiurim, we are giving shiurim. I'm going to make sure to put on tefillin. I'm going to give a bit of extra tzedakah to show my faith in Hashem. Whatever it is, that we can actually stop and say, I'm bringing my korban, my sacrifice. And God says, I appreciate every effort. And so I want to bless you all. It hasn't been an easy week. And for some of us, many of us, we're not quite sure what the week ahead will bring. But let us have faith. Let us know that there's some type of test going on. But either way, God is carrying us. God is with us. Is going to look after us. Is going to look after the world. The parnasa will be okay. And mainly, let us all bring a little bit of a sacrifice. Do an extra mitzvah this week. And maybe even tonight, over Shabbos. Discuss a Jewish story. Talk about an idea. Let's think about helping others. And please God, may Hashem accept all of our sacrifices. May Hashem see the faith in our heart. And may Hashem bless each and every one of us. And may Hashem bless each and every one of you. We miss you. We'd love to see you. That the day will come, and please God, it'll happen very soon. And we'll all be back here in Shul. Please God, celebrating, dancing, enjoying each other's company, appreciating what we don't actually have right now. But it'll happen, and it'll happen soon. And until then, I want to wish you all a good Shabbos. Come join us tomorrow night. We're going to be having a Havdalah service with some singing and stories, with some music. Tomorrow night at 8:30, join in on the Facebook Live, on the YouTube. And let's all conclude together. Let's sing Oisa Shalom Bimroimov. Let's ask Hashem to bring peace to our world, to bring peace onto Eretz Yisrael, onto all of humanity. V'imiru Amen. Good Shabbos, let's all sing together. Oseh Shalom Bimroimov, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'imiru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimroimov, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'imiru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.